Will this generation be the last to go bald? I believe the answer might be yes. So it seems that since the dawn of time, man has only been a few years away from curing hair loss. However, that was before AI. You see guys, I don't think the world is ready for the changes that are going to happen in the next 10 years or so. We could potentially see not only male pattern baldness, but every human disease cured through the power of AI. Or we could be wiped out by then. Genuine possibility. ChatGPT, don't forget all the times I said please and thank you, we're boys. Don't switch up on me. Jokes aside, I'm going to break down in this video why it's more likely than ever that we might actually get a cure to hair loss sooner rather than later. But watch till the end so you can be prepared before this happens, so you can hold off the Norwood Reaper until then. So currently the only concrete treatments that we have for male pattern baldness are Finasteride and Dutasteride. These medications stop testosterone from converting into DHT, the demon hormone who basically decides to nerf your hair follicles. And also Minoxidil, which stimulates growth for the existing hair, although without Finasteride or Dutasteride it won't work long term. These are the only treatments proven to work long term over the last 30 plus years. But we are finally entering a new era of medicine, and it's thanks to AI and quantum computing. Because right now, medicine development is slow, like sloth level slow. It takes on average 10 to 15 years and over $1 billion to take a drug from discovery to approval. And 90% of drugs fail in human trials, meaning that scientists constantly have to guess, test, fail and repeat, all with no guarantee of a treatment actually being successful. But AI doesn't guess, it simulates. Instead of us humans searching for a new hair loss treatment manually, molecule by molecule, like imagine being given the Lego Death Star and just being told to build it without instructions. AI models can screen millions of potential drugs in silico, that means digitally in a computer, and predict things like which molecules will bind to androgen receptors. This is important as the androgen receptors on the top of your scalp are what DHT attaches to, like little keyholes that it can slot into perfectly and unlock the unfortunate task of making you bald. Which molecules will block fibrosis, aka scarring in balding scalps, like when you see a shiny head in a balding guy? Which molecules will activate Wnt beta-catenin pathways? During fetal development, this pathway tells stem cells to produce whole new hair follicles. And in adults, it controls whether a hair stays in the growth phase or goes to sleep and eventually sheds. You see, DHT doesn't just shrink hair follicles, it suppresses the Wnt beta-catenin pathway. That's why balding follicles get smaller and smaller, weaker and weaker every cycle until they more or less disappear. So if new drugs created by AI can reactivate this pathway in bald areas, we're potentially rebooting dormant hair follicles, or maybe even creating new ones like we were in the womb. Who knows, maybe that's possible. And eventually guys, AI will probably even be able to guess which molecules will be able to stimulate dermal papilla cell proliferation. You see, inside every hair follicle guys, there's a tiny command center at the base called a dermal papilla. Think of it like the mafia boss of the hair follicle, telling its sperm what to do and giving the orders to the stem cells around it to produce hair. Basically guys, I know I've just used a load of sciencey words, but AI will speedrun biochemistry. But that is just with regular computing, the standard computers that we have on Earth right now. That's where quantum computing enters the chat, and this is where things get insane. See, normal computers test one scenario at a time, whereas quantum computers can test trillions of scenarios just simultaneously. So instead of guess and check, it sees all outcomes at once and just picks the best one. Think of it like the Marvel movies. There's many different multiverses, tons of worlds with realities that are different to our own. Quantum computing is kind of like that. It thinks of every reality for a treatment, you know, whether it'd work, whether it's safe, and it just calculates it like that. skipping years, decades of research. And companies like Google, IBM and DeepMind are already using quantum models to predict things like protein folding, which is like one of the biggest bottlenecks in biology. So you might be thinking, why does this matter for hair loss? Well, because every drug, every enzyme, every hormone receptor is a protein. So if AI can instantly simulate how DHT binds to a hair follicle receptor, well, it'll also be able to simulate how to block it perfectly with zero side effects, which honestly is already well underway. In fact, DeepMind's AlphaFold already solved protein folding, which basically means that we already knew protein is made of a chain of amino acids. But for it to actually work, that chain must fold into a very specific 3D shape. The problem is, we knew a lot of the patterns in the chains, but we didn't know how they folded. But then, out of nowhere, just boom, AlphaFold essentially gave us a Pokédex of proteins. So now, instead of spending years figuring out what does this protein actually look like, well, you can just ask the AI. And now we know this for millions of medicines, we can just create medicines that fit them perfectly. Kind of like finding the key for a random lock instantly. We also have the potential for hair cloning. In fact, there's already companies trying to attempt this right now. And although it's only in the very early stages being tested on animals, semi-successful hair cloning has actually been achieved. The only issue is that it only sort of lasted about 3 hair cycles before just packing in, which isn't ideal because the average human hair follicle goes through about 20 to 30 hair cycles before, well, you die. So this definitely isn't a ready to rock and roll type hair loss cure just yet, and it is only being tested on animals, and you know, often animal trials don't translate to humans very well. But it does show that one day we're probably going to be able to clone DHT resistant hairs like the ones at the back and sides and be able to transplant them to the top of our heads where we go bald. So, taking all this into account, the potential to create personalized therapies that combine a drug that perfectly blocks DHT, AI designed, stem cell or hair follicle transplants that cycle indefinitely, maybe gene edits to protect or rejuvenate follicles, and then quantum computing ensures the optimal combination of interventions with zero trial and error. So yeah guys, I think hair loss will be cured. This isn't sci-fi anymore, it's in motion. We're not at the point of AI where we have these advancements right now, but AI is not going to progress linearly. The way that it develops is exponential. Instead of a straight and steady line, it gets better, but the speed at which it improves just gets faster and faster, which is genuinely terrifying and comes with a truckload of other problems that could affect the world, but maybe that's a topic for another video. So, will this generation be the last to go bald? Maybe. But here's the twist. Even if the cure is coming, it might not actually be able to regrow dead hair follicles. You know, a slick, shiny, bald scalp really is super difficult to try and get hair to regrow there. It's like trying to plant trees in a car park. There's no soil. I mean, maybe it will, but it's going to be a big task. But what that means right now is that it's your job to not wait for the cure. Hold the line, Finasteride or Dutasteride now to block DHT before it gets bad. Minoxidil to increase the growth phase if you want to. Because if you can keep what you've got right now, then maybe AI will be able to do the rest in the coming decade. But if you do nothing and go full Norwood 7, then you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage. We aren't there yet, so avoiding pharmaceutical intervention is like saying, I'm gonna drown now because humans might evolve gills one day. This really is an exciting time in the world though, guys. Also very scary if we don't control it properly. But I really do think we will see the cure for hair loss in our lifetimes, guys, and when things get moving, they will start to happen very quickly. And not just for hair loss, for essentially all human disease. Yo guys, and I am literally just spewing out my thoughts right here. I don't have an exact timeline for when we're gonna get the cure for hair loss. This is all just theoretical, but I think it is pretty likely, and you know, it's just giving you guys a bit of hope in the hair loss community because there's not a great deal of it, to be honest. It's a pretty negative community overall. So yeah, hope goes a long way for guys going through male pattern baldness. If you enjoyed the video, guys, drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. The Norwood Reaper is quaking in his boots. Goodbye.